Most guys walk through life completely blind to something happening right in front of them every single day. And it's not their fault. They've been conditioned to look for attraction in all the wrong places, waiting for women to be loud, obvious, direct. But that's not how it works. Women don't show attraction the way men think they should. They don't announce it, they don't make it easy to spot, and they definitely don't hand you a written invitation with clear instructions. Instead, they communicate through positioning, through energy, through tiny emotional behaviors that most men walk right past without ever noticing. This is Isabella, and today we're breaking down 9 signs women are deeply attracted to you, even when they're doing everything they can to keep it hidden. And here's the part that might sting a little. Some of these signs are so subtle, so quiet, that there are men right now who spent years believing no woman ever wanted them, when the complete opposite was true the entire time. They just didn't know what to look for. Before we dive in, drop your city in the comments. I genuinely love seeing where everyone's watching from. And if you're into real conversations about female psychology, attraction, and what actually happens beneath the surface, hit subscribe. Because what you're about to learn will completely rewire the way you read women from this moment forward. Sign 1. Lingering eye contact. This is probably the most common attraction signal men completely ignore. And they ignore it because they've convinced themselves it didn't mean anything. Here's how it usually goes down. You're somewhere ordinary. A coffee shop, the gym, a party, doesn't matter. You glance up and your eyes meet hers. But instead of looking away immediately like strangers normally do, she holds it, just a beat longer than necessary. Then she looks away. And a few seconds later, she looks back. That second glance, that's everything. Women don't stare the way men do. Attraction for them doesn't start with boldness. It starts with awareness. She notices you first, feels something, then quietly checks to see if you noticed her too. That's why the repeated glance is so psychologically powerful. And here's the irony. A lot of attractive men miss this entirely because they're waiting for something more obvious. They assume if a woman really wanted them, she'd make it crystal clear. But that's not how it works. Women signal first. They don't chase openly. The eye contact is the invitation. It's your job to recognize it. Sign 2. Proximity. This is one of the sneakiest attraction signals women use because it lets them create opportunities without ever appearing like they're chasing. Women rarely pursue men aggressively. Instead, they position themselves around what they want and wait for the moment to unfold naturally. You'll start noticing she keeps ending up near you. In group settings, she's suddenly closer than she needs to be. She picks the seat next to you even when there are other open spots. She joins conversations you're already in. She shows up in places where running into you feels accidental. But it's not. Most men call this coincidence. But psychologically, proximity is one of the oldest tools in the attraction playbook. Women move closer to men they're curious about because closeness builds familiarity. It creates comfort. It opens the door for emotional connection without the risk of outright rejection. And honestly, most men completely miss this because they're waiting for women to verbally declare interest. But female attraction doesn't work that way. It begins quietly, through positioning, through awareness. A woman who keeps placing herself in your orbit isn't doing it by accident. She's hoping something happens naturally so she doesn't have to force it. Sign 3. She becomes unusually attentive when you speak. And this has nothing to do with being the loudest guy in the room or trying to dominate every conversation. Some men force attention. They demand it. They perform for it. Other men just naturally hold it without even trying. And women? They notice that difference immediately. You might see conversations soften slightly when you start talking. Women turn their bodies toward you. They stay engaged longer. They react to simple things you say while other guys around you are fighting for scraps of attention. That's presence. And it becomes even more attractive as you get older, because women start placing more value on emotional steadiness than flashy performance. A calm, grounded man often feels infinitely more magnetic than someone desperately trying to impress everyone in the room. Here's the interesting part. A lot of highly attractive men completely miss this sign because they think attraction has to look dramatic. But sometimes attraction looks like quiet focus, like a woman leaning in just slightly more when you talk, like her energy shifting toward you without a word being said. Sign 4, mirroring. This one is so subtle most men never catch it happening in real time. But psychologically, mirroring is one of the strongest unconscious signals of emotional comfort and attraction. Here's what it looks like in action. You lean back in your chair. A few moments later, she leans back too. You slow your speech just a little. Her tone starts matching yours. You touch your face absent-mindedly. Seconds later, she does the same. That's not random. That's nervous system alignment. When a woman feels emotionally comfortable and drawn to a man, her body language starts syncing with his without her even realizing it's happening. And this usually happens more around men who create calm, steady energy. Not because they're performing or trying to impress, but because their presence naturally relaxes the people around them. Women feel that, and their bodies respond before their minds even catch up. Sign 5. Compliments that go beyond your appearance. A woman telling you that you look good is nice. It's flattering, but it's surface level. When she starts complimenting your energy, your calmness, the way you make her feel, that's when attraction shifts into something much deeper. She might say things like, "You're different. You're really easy to talk to. I don't know why, but I feel weirdly comfortable around you." And most men brush these comments off like they're nothing, but they're everything. Women don't describe emotional comfort around men they feel nothing toward. Attraction for women grows through emotional safety first, through connection, through the feeling that they can relax and just be themselves without judgment or pressure. That's why so many women are drawn to men who make them feel emotionally at ease instead of anxious or drained. And honestly, men who naturally create that feeling usually have no idea how attractive they actually are. Sign 6. Repeated glances when you're not directly interacting. This is one of the clearest attraction signs women give without saying a single word. You catch her looking at you from across the room. She looks away quickly. A few minutes later, it happens again. And most men immediately convince themselves they imagined it. But here's the psychological truth. People repeatedly look toward what emotionally interests them. Women especially tend to observe men they're attracted to before making the interaction more obvious. They study your energy, your confidence, the way you move, how you interact with others. Attractive men miss this sign the most because they assume if a woman was really interested, she'd be way more direct. But attraction for women usually begins through observation before action. A woman repeatedly checking on your presence visually, she's already emotionally curious. She's trying to understand your energy before deciding if she feels safe enough to open the door wider. Sign 7. How other men respond to you around women. This one has nothing to do with her directly, but she's watching it closely. Women pay attention to male social dynamics way more than most guys realize. Some men become quieter when you're around. Others start competing harder when women are nearby. Some immediately respect you without needing long conversations or explanations. Women notice all of it because psychologically, men naturally respond to status, competence, and presence on a subconscious level. And women use those social reactions as information about your value without even realizing they're doing it. Truly attractive men rarely force status. They don't dominate every room aggressively. Their confidence feels calm, quiet, natural. And women feel the difference immediately between a man trying to prove his value and a man who's already secure in himself. Sign 8. She assumes you already have options. This one catches a lot of men off guard because it usually happens before dating or exclusivity is even on the table. She'll say things like, "You probably have girls texting you all the time. I'm sure you know what you're doing. I bet women flirt with you constantly." And most guys think she's joking. She's not. Women say these things when a man carries calm, non-desperate energy. When he doesn't chase too hard. When he doesn't over-explain himself or constantly seek validation. Desperation has an emotional signature. So does confidence. A man who feels emotionally grounded naturally gives the impression that women already want him, even if he personally has no idea. And women are instinctively drawn to men who seem completely comfortable whether they get approval or not. Sign 9. She becomes nervous around you. This is the one most men struggle to believe even when it's happening right in front of them. Not all women become bold and flirty when they like someone. Some become awkward. They laugh more than usual. They stumble over words. They suddenly become hyper-aware of how they're coming across. Sometimes they tease you more. Other times they go quiet and become emotionally careful around you. And most men completely misread this. They assume confidence equals attraction and nervousness means disinterest. But that's not how it works. Attraction creates emotional pressure. A woman who genuinely cares how you see her becomes more self-conscious around you because your opinion suddenly matters. And that nervous energy? It's usually way more real than perfectly polished flirting. Here's the truth most men never learn. They think attraction should be obvious, that if a woman really likes them, she'll make it impossible to miss. She'll flirt aggressively, text constantly, give some big dramatic signal they can't possibly overlook. But female attraction doesn't work that way. It works quietly. Women signal first, then they watch. They observe your energy, your confidence, your awareness, how you carry yourself emotionally. And only after they feel safe do they fully open up. That's why so many men spend years thinking they were invisible to women, when the reality is women were giving signals the entire time. The problem was never that women weren't interested. The problem was that most men were never taught how to recognize attraction when it shows up softly instead of loudly. And once you start noticing these signs, your entire understanding of dating changes. You stop chasing validation so desperately because you realize attraction often begins long before words are ever spoken. Now, I want you to be honest in the comments. Which of these signs have you personally noticed the most? And if you're into real conversations about female psychology, attraction, and what's actually happening beneath the surface, subscribe, because the next videos go even deeper into modern dating psychology and emotional attraction.